I'm the first, I guess. Happy to answer any questions.
Governor, the state money for this project is still being held up in litigation over the source, the unclaimed funds. Are you concerned about that? Is there any sort of plan B?
Well, as you remember, my initial proposal was to tax the sports gaming companies. So I think that's still a possibility that we could do. My criteria, frankly, I wanted to support this. I wanted to support money for the other stadiums, and frankly, I wanted to create a fund that we could use for decades. And that was the goal. The goal is not to have any money coming from the state that competes with education, not to take money out of education, not to take money out of mental health, not to take money out of our efforts in regard to addiction. So I'm convinced that, first of all, I think that we're going to win this case in court. It is slow, certainly, and we're waiting, but I think eventually we win. If we do not win, if we ultimately lose, there is another alternative, and that alternative is to go and, frankly, tax these sports gaming companies who don't employ people in the state of Ohio, and where there's plenty of room to actually increase that tax. But we needed to create a permanent fund in the state to help our stadiums, our ballparks, for decades ahead. We know that there's always been, the state for the last 30 to 35 years has participated in building these stadiums, building the ballparks, but also in keeping them up. Sports is a huge asset to the state of Ohio. It's one of the things that makes life great living here. We have great sports. And so I'm optimistic. We'll find a plan B, and we can do that without taking money away from our schools or fire or police.
Governor, is there any expectation that the case with unclaimed funds will be done by the time of the end of your tenure, or would this drag over to a new administration?
I really don't know. This is clearly going to go on for a while. And so I'm not happy about that, but frankly, there's nothing that we can do about that. But we're going to go ahead. As you know, we asked for sports teams to put in their requests, and we have those requests, and I've told our team now to start going through those. And what we will come up with is a plan for multiple years, which will show basically how much money should be coming in every year approximately, and how much money we would be able to spend, and then we will lay out a plan about how we would propose for this money to be spent. Now, we will have a new governor, we'll have a new legislature, but I think we can reach an understanding, I think, with all the sports teams in the state of Ohio. Once they knew that there's a source of money that was going to be there and be there for many, many, many years into the future, then everybody has the opportunity to plan. Each one of these teams knows when they're going to need money. There's a cycle to these stadiums. There's a cycle to these ballparks. So what we'll put out a first draft of that. We'll put out then a second draft after we get input from people. Now that doesn't really impact the Browns, but it impacts every other sports team in the state. It impacts obviously the Guardians and all the other sports teams.
When do you expect to put out that plan?
It's going to be several months at least. We're going to go through it, then we're going to go back and talk to the teams, make sure that we understand when they have the need for that money. Everybody will want money. A lot of the teams will want money right away. The cash flow won't allow that, but it will as I look at the age of these stadiums and when we expect in the ballparks when money will be needed. We can sort of see a pattern already, and it's going to work. It's going to work. I mean, the idea of having a dedicated fund so that we don't have to go into the state general revenue and take money away from fire and police and education, it makes eminent sense. So if this plan to do it doesn't work, we have backup plans, and we have ways of accomplishing the same thing. So I'm optimistic, very optimistic. Long answer, optimistic. Anybody else?
excited to see the lakefront and what happens after the home stadium's not there anymore. How important is that given the moving of the team out of downtown?
Look, it opens up space, and in some respects, although we understand the history of the Browns being on the lakefront, in a sense, that I wouldn't say it was a waste, but there's opportunity now that they're not going to be there. That just opens up more space, and opens up more opportunity. And water is so important, and I think what you're seeing, both in Cleveland and other parts of the state, we now realize how valuable that water is, and frankly, what a lure it is for people who just want to recreate along a river, or in this case, along the lake. So yeah, it's very, very valuable. And this will be up to the city, this will be up to the community, what their vision is of it. But as I've talked to the mayor and I've talked to other people, I think they've got a big vision for this. And I'm sure that the state will play a role in helping. I mean, this is what we will want to do, and I think it's a great thing for the city and for the county and for the state. Okay, we got that out there. Anybody else?
One other question for you. I just wanted to wait for the very loud.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
How confident are you that the state is really going to recoup its investment in this project through new tax revenues from development?
Well, I think if you look at it from the point of view of $600 million versus the private money is being put in, by the Haslams and by the Browns. If you look at their plans and their multiple plans over the years, this is going to be a big economic boom. So I'm confident that if you look at tax revenues in the future, that this money will come back to the state. Some of this, though, you can't even measure. The publicity of having a draft here, of we hope a Super Bowl in the future, to having the center TV, everybody all over the country looking at Cleveland, seeing this new beautiful dome stadium, that's worth a lot of money. You can't really measure it, but Cleveland is a great place to visit. One of the things we saw after the national convention was here, people went away and said, "Wow, Cleveland is a great place." They're going to come. They're going to want to come to this dome stadium because they just want to see it. And once they see it, they're going to fall in love with Cleveland. And I think that really is the essence of this. I always think that if you're not moving ahead, if you're not visionary, you're moving backwards. You either got to go one way or the other. There's no way staying in the middle because you're going backwards if you're not doing anything. This is visionary, and this is the future. And I'm just very, very excited about it. I think it will be one of the great things that Ohio has, added to the great things that Ohio have, and the reasons that people will come to Ohio just to have fun, and also come to Ohio to live. We can't think of it. There's no better place in the country or in the world to live than the state of Ohio.
Governor, you said the magic words there, Super Bowl. I know the commissioner was a little non-committal.
Well, yes, the commissioner doesn't want to quite commit, but
in your understanding and everything going through this whole deal, how confident are you that we will at some point see a Super Bowl here in Cleveland?
Look. I mean, the story we get from I won't quote the commissioner, but when we talk about people who are familiar with what's it take to get a Super Bowl, I mean, one of the things is you have to make sure that you've got enough hotel rooms. And I think that is probably going to be an issue. But again, I think you're going to see hotel rooms because of this stadium, and I think that in the future we certainly will have a Super Bowl. That would be my prediction. I won't be governor at that point, so you won't be able to congratulate me in saying that, or in a few years say I was wrong. But I think we'll get a Super Bowl.
Why do you think it is realistic that infrastructure can develop here around here to create the potential for a Super Bowl?
Well, look, this is I'm not an economic developer. This is not my area, but you have people that are putting close to $2 billion into this. Obviously, they think it is. They think it'll work. They wouldn't have put their money into it. So we will see. No one can predict the future. No one's got a crystal ball, but I'm optimistic.